Hey Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over that massive pump followed by a little bit of consolidation on the Bitcoin chart, guys. If we do just take a look at altcoins, they are bleeding a bit today as Bitcoin dominance is pushing up. If we do take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, you do see that we are reaching these kind of critical areas where we have been rejected in the past. However, this is our second push up into that zone. And historically speaking, there's only been a couple times that we've actually had any relevant data for a possible altcoin season. But usually it's just been not one, two pushes up into this area. So the real question here is, can Bitcoin dominance continue to rise above this kind of 57% zone where it kind of maxed out here? You can see that the volume on the Bitcoin dominance chart here did max out in that 57 push, and we are sort of making lower volume on these subsequent pushes here in the dominance chart. I'm not quite sure just how important that is, but we can see that when we did had a critical breakdown and basically have the beginning of altcoin season in the past, it did come with that lower volume there. Okay, so of course we are looking for this potential breakdown to this this kind of parallel line here that I've drawn according to this one over here, just suggesting we have a little bit of buffer room before those alts may really get their season. And once we bust through that, which course by the way just conveniently corresponds with that 200 daily EMA and the 800 daily EMA, which it also did over here, guys. Okay, so if we do have that breakdown, that's going to give us that massive altcoin season where all your altcoins just go crazy to the upside, assuming that Bitcoin can at least hold its current price level or push a little bit higher. And I think that is possible in the current ETF environment. The question is whether or not Bitcoin's actually going to get limited in this push as those ETFs are coming online across the world and as institutions are adopting Bitcoin over potentially other altcoins, which could just continue to drive money into Bitcoin as opposed to speculation in the altcoin market. Since there is a scarcity of dollars these days, that means that there's a limited amount of money that can actually go one way or the other. And so, if Bitcoin does look like the sexier option for this cycle, then what we really have to watch out for is a potential breakout here, and then maybe even this kind of push up to these previous levels. And if that happened, we would really have an altcoin reckoning. I mean, it would be an ethnic cleansing of your just S coins and all this garbage that's in the market. As investors just said, look, it didn't pay off last cycle. Okay, during the bear, it didn't pay off. It didn't work out to hold those things. Okay, I don't want to hold them again. I'd rather just go with this a safe option, Bitcoin. We have the ETFs now, or maybe one of those handful of the newer coins, maybe since 2021 and later, that look like they have some actually decent functionality that goes with them and something that the market really needs. That would be something very scary for the altcoin market. However, history is usually a good guide of what's going to happen. And since we did get that peak on volume right here, just like we got that peak on volume right here and right here, that does suggest that maybe we are coming into that area where our alts may start performing pretty well. But we do have to just hammer this chart down, just bonk that thing down. And what we don't like to see is it just sticking up above this diagonal, because that is going to just bleed your altcoins. So if your altcoins are bleeding, just understand that's the process that's going on here. If we do jump over to the Solana chart, guys, of course, I was mentioning in previous episodes that we did have this, pardon me while I get my chart set up here. Trading view, be nice. Okay, yeah, that we did have this broadening descending wedge. We did bust out of that broadening descending wedge, and then we also have this inverted head and shoulders here. If we take the measured move off of that one, just kind of loosey-goosey style there, I did suggest that we could find our way back to that $200 price point, and that does correspond with our upper resistance area up here. So, I think $200 Solana is on the table. Of course, we've been suggesting to get in on this one down here, and also suggesting that there may be some type of a strength versus Bitcoin around here. In fact, if we do take a look at our last pool that we drew out for you here on Alpha Commission, we were looking to hold above 144, and since then we have put in a nice, 22% return there, assuming that you just capitalized those gains at the top there. We are having a little bit of a consolidation here, but that is just in that bull zone, right? Basically, it's the bulls trying to hold that bullish control zone and the bears fighting back just a little bit. And we are above that weekly volatility pivot that I did suggest could just send us flying, guys, okay? However, we do need to update these things. That was a few days ago. Let's go ahead and draw out a new pool just to see where could this drawdown come down to, right? And as long as we're above 170, I'm actually just going to continue to be super bullish on Sol. But, there's always some give and take in the markets. So if we do have a little bit of drawdown, a little bit of consolidation, no harm, no foul, as long as we don't really lose that 157 area, okay? Underneath 154, we do lose the strength of our move, and we basically go back to this old pattern instead of generating a new one. What I'd like to do is just see some type of consolidation here, maybe a nice bull flag, and then that just pushes us up to that kind of $200 area where we will need to defeat the 2-week volatility pivot around 192. And again, that could just give us some macro high time frame biases to the upside, and this thing should likely have bullish continuation as long as we can defeat these levels. The bull zone, is still relatively at a 170. So again, with our hold momentum and our bull zone at both around that 170 zone, that's really the area that you want to be paying attention to on the high side. And then on the low side, of course, we don't want to be dipping below that 157, 154. Okay. Where do bears take back control? Under 122? So that's neither here nor there, but that is around that 200 daily EMA, guys. Let's go ahead and jump over to the Bitcoin chart. And if we do, there we go, there's a Bitcoin chart. We can see, of course, that we have our key levels here. But more importantly, we did have that falling wedge, and I thought we were going to get a bigger pullback on this, but this system has just been incredibly bullish ever since we called the low here at 57 in advance. Before we had even hit that target, I was calling for the low to be 57 and then for us to break back up, retest the wedge, and then break out. Absolutely, we did. There wasn't even time for pullback here, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at my last pool. I was suggesting that we could draw down as far as that volatility pivot at 63,000, and then critical low would be that 61,000. Man, Bitcoin just hung on to the hold momentum level and didn't let go. It's like a little monkey swinging from a tree branch here. It just held that level and just swung right above it. So that's actually a very bullish showing from Bitcoin. You can see we even tapped the bull zone, and usually the first time you try to crack a new level, you don't necessarily break through it, but that just shows you the power of my key levels, guys, because that was spot on. All of these have been spot on, guys. And let's take a look at an updated pool. We can see where might a drawdown happen now that we've got a new kind of measure on momentum. Really we're still looking at that same type of area, maybe some type of, retest of the breakout, right? Maybe that 5-day volatility pivot somewhere at 66,100. Why do I have the 5-day on? Because the 5-day chart closes in about 5 hours. So if we do hold above 66,100 by the end of today, again, this is just going to look super bullish to me. I mean, it could even imply continuation from there. That would be a very shallow retrace. But if this market did want to get just a little bit bloodier, just a little shake out a little bit of the weaker hands, then we could just dip back into this kind of ambiguous zone before we had that breakout. Maybe take out a little bit of this fair value gap somewhere around 64,000, and then I would suggest we really need to flip back out of that zone, right, that ambiguous yellow zone here, in order to hold that strength of the move, because underneath 64,000, underneath definitely 63,360, we're going to lose that big alpha energy, okay, that strength of the move. We want to hold on to that because this was a nice push. I mean, guys, let's just take a look from our lows here. and Bitcoin is up a solid 20%. Okay, so even though I had been recommending for you to be in Solana, obviously we got that greater than 20% move. In fact, Bitcoin itself has put in a 20% move, and so you can just see that Bitcoin remains extremely powerful. If your portfolios aren't up 20%, in fact, if you're down right on some of your altcoins, that just shows you that Bitcoin dominance at work, guys. Okay, so where do we get super bullish on this chart? Above 67,281 would be our bias for continuation, and then above 68,740 we're just squarely in that bull zone, which we haven't been in for a long time. So we do need to get into that bull zone. That will put us above the weekly and the daily and the 5-day volatility pivots, and then the next nut to crack would be 71,362, so around that $72,000 area. Flip that, and you've got the much higher time frames. I think Bitcoin often operates on the 2-week chart, so you flip that 2-week volatility pivot to give yourself a bullish bias. By my estimation, we're talking about bullish continuation, bull run, back on, and then we'll want to take a look at our altcoins for sure. Okay. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. That's your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.